Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Before I introduce you to our guests, let me share this quote I picked just for this episode. If you're not aware that you're not supposed to be able to do something, the barriers to doing it are dramatically lessened. Sam Zell. I have two guests with me right now. One you may remember, Jake Penny from episode 151, and his partner in life, in success, Leanna Cunrod. Damn it. Thanks for coming on. They've been good friends of mine for years. And this is many years in the making. Penny Capital Management, the short of it is, you got these, our guests, friends, have created a lot of success with something from scratch, really, and put up with me in varying degrees for years. And I got a million questions about how you guys did it, because frankly, you may or may not know this, and even the audience, without my life partner, I got to get her on this maybe at some point. Gosh, I'd still be running around with Velvet, I think. Jenna Silverman. So thanks for coming on the show, Leanna, because last time we did just me and Jake, broing out. How are you guys?
We're great. Thanks for having us on. We love doing things together, so it feels good to both be here and deep dive into some more of those questions that you have.
Now, I guess the first thing I have though is for you, Leanne. Like, what was it like going? So you studied liberal arts, and
Nursing.
I think, dang it was like a minor in something that has nothing to, like, natural science, nothing to do with real estate. I'm like, how do you go from that to owning, to buying, to owning, to managing, to building all this value in the real estate? What was that like over the last X amount of years? That's the first thing I want to know.
It was eye-opening. So I was in school studying for nursing, and then Jake and I realized that we wanted to do real estate. I know Jake told the story of how we did the free program, and then you pay money, and then you do a free day, and then you do the big, big event. So when that started, I knew that he saw something different, so I saw something different too. There's definitely a cap or a glass ceiling in a lot of the corporate job worlds, and not that they're not needed. I would have loved to be a nurse, but I just knew something in me also sparked that I wanted endless amount of opportunities, travel the world. At a young age, when my mom would tell me, "Oh no, you can't go ice skating with your friends tonight," I would like throw a fit. I'm like, "Mom, I have one world or one life. That's it." So I kind of had that little bit of a mentality young. We got one life. We got to experience things. So being a nurse, maybe I wouldn't have been able to experience as much. When Jake opened me to real estate, I was like, this is an avenue that you could see the whole world, depending on how scalable you got. So that was really how it opened me to transfer from regular schooling into our entrepreneurial life now.
Jake, do you remember that first conversation?
Yeah, and actually, I've always been an entrepreneur, so she saw that, but more so, she's the one that was like, "Hey, we're taking the leap. This is what you want to do, so this is what we're going to do."
Wow.
Because I always preached, the school will create you an income, a living, right? Real estate and business and entrepreneurial stuff will create you a lifestyle. So her saying that real estate will show us the world, it's about the passive income that it gives off to where you're able to do what you want, when you want, wherever you want, with who you want. So that first conversation was, honestly, it was pretty easy. It was more so when it came to her telling her parents that, "Hey,
I can't wait to learn about this.
I'm no longer going to be a nurse because the guy that I just started dating says I can get rich in real estate."
And you had like a 4.0, right? I remember Jake saying
Yeah.
like you had a high grade. You're into that stuff.
Oh yeah.
She had like the highest scholarship. It was called like the McGraw scholarship or something like that too.
Wow.
I mean, I finished out school, but the conversation, like Jake said, we were just really new into dating, not that long. And then, great idea, we're going to do real estate. And my parents were like, "What did you just say?" And my dad was like, let's go have a little chat. I'm not going to yell. And then what do you know? The first words out of his mouth, he starts yelling. I'm like, "Dad,
brought her out to the shed.
You can handle this in such a way."
What year was this?
2016 when we first started. Yeah, so I just knew that's the path I was going. Did finish school, like you said. So instead of nursing, it was the master's in liberal arts and then 2 minors in, I forget now, but I didn't even walk a graduation. We ended up going to an event in Buffalo, New York.
Real estate event.
Real estate event. I think it
Yeah.
was like Money Masters with Chris Noggle.
With Chris Noggle and
Chris. Yeah, I see
Greg
that.
Herline.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good friends with them guys.
So instead of graduating and walking the stage and getting a diploma, me and Jake made the trip to Buffalo, New York. And again, my mom was like, "You should walk. It's your only time." I'm like, "Yeah, but this might be my only event I could ever go to."
Wow.
It's
a
parents.
lot of events, but
It's a parent's dream to watch their kids walk at
Sure.
graduation, right? And you're like, nah, I'm not going to do the
the
traditional route. I'm going to go learn how to make real money.
Do you admire that about Leanna, Jake?
Oh, absolutely. That's freaking badass. Well, I like to say kick ass at. Kick ass.
I teed him up for that one.
Yeah.
T-ball. This is T-ball, guys.
Yeah, that was an easy question to answer.
Right?
Wow. So I guess what were the initial lessons? I'm curious about how you each interpreted that first year.
Well, it wasn't easy. Nothing's easy. It's definitely not a 9 to 5. It was 24/7. Even when we wanted to stop, we couldn't, because at the time when we first started, we bought 3 houses right out the gate. We had no idea where the money was going to come from. I'm not sure if Jake touched upon that, but we couldn't get bank financing because we had no W-2s, we had no tax returns. So we had to turn to family and friends to help us get through our first 3 deals. And it was pretty brutal. And we learned that the contractors would steal, and we're like, well, why would people do that? And we had to get in there and start doing rehabs ourselves. So it was we've been through it all, let's just say, in the first year and years after, to continue to grow and keep doing what we know we wanted to do. That financial freedom, that do whatever we want when we want, but that doesn't come in year 1, 2, 3, or 4.
No.
So
when people, when I think of hands dirty, what does that mean? Is it you're breaking things with hammers and
oh yeah,
I'd really like to understand that more deeply, because who doesn't dream of real estate? So what would I do in that scenario, right? What needs to be fixed? How do you even do that?
It's pretty funny because you say that, and I remember when we were first getting started, there was a lot of people out there that, oh, you're just flipping houses. Anybody can do that. It's just like the TV shows. And I remember people saying, no, you're not doing anything that special, or it's super easy. Anybody can do it. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. It's not for the faint of heart, because like she said, there's been times where we've been burned by contractors. Next thing you know, they steal $30,000, they steal $5,000, $10,000, $30,000. There goes all your money for your rehab. What do you do now? Your back's against the wall, you're shitting bricks. You have investor money on the line, or your own money. You never swung a hammer in your life before.
Now you're swinging hammers.
And now you're a contractor because you don't have any other money. And let alone you have 3 or 4 houses that you bought off the gate. You're stretched thin. You literally have no money left over in your account. You can barely pay your bills. But
we didn't sink. Failure at that point was not the option. It was just keep swimming. So instead of us, people just get their toes wet in something new. No, we pretty much jumped in, no life vest, no life raft, and we figured it out. We came out on top. We rehabbed them and sold the properties, paid back investors, and we made profit.
And family members were like, hey, just sell everything off.
Stop.
Yeah, they were like, take the L, take it on the chin, pay back whatever you owe over the years.
Nope.
And this is a huge learning curve.
Well, why not, Leanna? Why not just take the L?
Something in us that knew we could do it. So we learned, demo's demo. Throw a hammer at a wall, it's bound to come down. Putting everything back together, we learned how to do cabinets. I would do the tile, Jake would do the floor. We even learned how to do some plumbing. Electric, we definitely didn't mess with.
Hanging fixtures, we did that, or like outlets, but not running wire.
So tiles, plumbing, floor.
Cabinets.
The drywall,
drywall.
everything.
So we did it all. I mean, we have every tool possibly needed to redo a house, ground the floor in our garage right now.
Really? Wow.
But right now we don't need it. And I love when people say, oh, you shouldn't be swinging a hammer when you first start. Well, when you got no money to finish rehab, you do what you got to do.
What was it helpful in hindsight to go through that experience?
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
helpful, because then we knew and understood what work actually went into rehabbing houses, fixing them up. And that gave us a better outlook when a contractor came through and was like, hey, it needs X, Y, PDQ. And we're like, no, it doesn't, buddy. You know,
Wow.
or they'd be like, oh, it's going to take us X amount of hours. We're like,
Yeah.
yo, we're brand new. We just started swinging a hammer, yesterday. Not theoretically.
Yeah.
We know we're not even good at this. We're not even masters, and you're a master and you're telling us it's going to take that long. No,
Yeah.
you're lying.
It
Was
helps.
that helpful to pick who's on your team? Because you know who's
Absolutely.
lying,
Yeah,
like culturally.
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah, there was the people from day one, which we still have some day one people on our team who have stuck with us because they realized our vision just as much as we realized theirs, and they stuck with us. And then there was the other people who were like, oh yeah, we can make a min off these people, and that just didn't happen. They got vetted out very quickly.
It's unfortunate that they're not on our team still to this day,
Wow.
because
Just how much we've grown.
we've done 40 plus houses in the last 9 months, and they could have made a killing on, alongside of
Whatever,
us,
yeah, whatever
on
the trade
being
was.
working beside us, building this empire. And it's only going to get bigger. We're only going to do more deals a year. So they killed it. They killed it by
Sorry,
being
maybe
greedy.
they weren't who we needed in our.
But it was a
circle.
blessing. It was a blessing.
Why is it a blessing, you think?
I just think about like a winner's circle, a winner's culture. You only want people on your team and in your organization that see the greater vision, purpose, and mission that you're on. And if they think that a quick dollar is the only way, then it's not worth it, because they're only after one thing. They're not about a purpose. They're not about a mission. They're not about a culture. They're just working to make a dollar. And at the end of the day, if you put money as your number one priority, without any purpose behind it, it's not enough. It's not enough at all.
What are the roles at this point? How is it the organization operated? Leanna, are you in one part and Jake's in another, and then you come together like I do with my best friend and fight and then figure it out?
She's El Jefe. She's boss lady.
Yeah. All right. See, we are somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so we each have roles. They kind of cross in between. You made like the little symbol there. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
The conflict symbol.
That's it. Jake will handle all the finding, the deals, the funding, however that needs to be structured, closing. And then once the deal closes, it'll turn over to me for the contractors. So we'll go in, what needs to be done, all the pricing, keeping things on track, scheduling, all that good stuff. And then when renovations are complete, it turns back over to Jake to start the refinance process. He'll handle all that. So either an investor gets paid or a hard money lender gets paid back. We normally get cash-free proceeds, which is great. And then it'll turn back over to me again for tenant fulfillment.
How did you come up with this process? Is it just learning over time, or is it a mixture of all the books that you're reading and the mentorship?
I think my role, just based on how I'm good at communicating, scheduling, those type of skills just work hand in hand with me and the way I operate. And then I think for Jake, his roles are more so maybe what he's learned throughout books, and he likes numbers. I guess we can say being in control of things, making sure they're going as planned.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that wall was supposed to be over there and now it's over here. No, we can't have that.
God, I wish Jenna was on this. I need to call her. Yeah, you got to meet her still. So yeah, we should tell. We met recently at an event.
Yes.
What was, and you got to witness me there with the easel. We'll have to tell her that. That's like my new thing now, just like bringing easels to events. Like instead of coffee with friends,
Yeah.
meet me at this event. I'll bring the easel and we'll have a meeting. Made it up. Yeah, it's just like, Jeremy's been on the show like 3 times. He's coming on Wednesday, actually. We're doing another one, number 4.
Nice.
So we ran into each other at an event. What role has that played for you, Leanna, in your growth in this whole business evolution over the years? Like, what are your views on it? And I'm curious, like, why you guys were there too. But I guess start, with your view of what's the value of us. Why do people like us go to these things, I guess?
Networking is definitely a big thing there. You never know who you're going to meet, what opportunities you're going to run into. So going into them, having an open mind. I can be very outgoing, and then there's times where networking events come up and I'm like, I'll just sit at the table. But then there's times where you got to think to yourself, well, what else is out there, or what else can I offer that might be helping somebody? I might not need to get anything out of it, but maybe my little bit of information of, oh, I do affordable housing and I know a lot of government programs and all that stuff. Maybe that's somebody else's tidbit that they needed to walk away with at that event. So maybe it's not always something that I need to get out of it, but maybe something I can give to the event. And I realized that at the event that we ran into you at.
Really?
It's not always about getting, but giving. And the more you were able to give, I feel like it'll definitely come back at some point. Somebody will remember what I'm doing and what my mission is. And they'll be like, oh, I can connect you with this person. So we've been to a ton of events,
How many you think?
Like,
I'd love to know that.
20 plus,
Probably 30 plus, definitely
Really?
multiple 6 figures in financial literacy education, outside of college where real education is.
Yeah, I mean, because you didn't go either, right?
What, the college?
Yeah.
No, I dropped out.
So funny because Jenna went to college and I didn't either. I wonder if there's a theme. I'm curious because you've been to so many of these gatherings. Have you noticed that those dynamics exist in some of the couples that you've come across that work together? Or have you come across, I'm curious what you've learned from that dynamic.
I've never dove deep into hey, are you a dropout and she a college graduate?
Yeah, welcome to the Culture Matters show.
But definitely, there's always a duo of where somebody comes from corporate or college educated and someone doesn't, or they're an entrepreneur. Maybe they did go to college and graduate, but they're still an entrepreneur. That was just part of their transition, or they realized after that, or it was just to make family happy. Because in a lot of cultures, right, you have to go to college, but then after that's done and you satisfy that family dynamic, that's when you break out. And you'll see this in cultures outside of the US, and then they just flourish like crazy.
I just want to make sure I get a grasp over this. 30 plus events in the last 6-7 years. I mean, does that mean you're essentially one a quarter, or is it not that methodical, or is it just you're always on the road?
Oh, always pretty much on the road.
I don't understand the schedule. Like, what does it take for our listeners to understand to create this much momentum this quickly?
So, I mean, we're in multiple mentorship programs. So they have a bunch of events throughout the year. Some are virtual, most are in person. But then there's the one-off events where, we were just out in Dayton, Ohio last week for a whole week, 7 days.
Wow.
Diving deep into a business, a real estate acquisition company that primarily does wholesaling and wholetailing. And they're doing multiple 7 figures a year with a small group. They probably have 3 or 4 people working in the company, and they're doing multiple 7 figures. So we got to dive deep into their business, see it working every single day, and all the program systems, processes. They brought us out the deals. They look everything. They literally open the books, where a lot of gurus do not. They'll just teach you.
Well, they'd have to have some.
Yeah. They actually have majority of gurus don't even do deals.
Oops. Sorry, trying to have a little fun here.
But it was really cool.
You have to show them your bank account. You're the books.
Yeah. We should be freaking gurus now.
No, you know what I'm saying? It's like, show me your books. Yeah, no, I mean, you show me mine. It's like, who's on first, who's on
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
Abbott and Costello, like the old, I don't know.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
know. All right.
Yeah, who's on third or something?
Who's
I don't
on
know.
third?
Yeah,
What's on second?
Yeah, it never ends.
Yep.
Now, let me just understand something. The wholesale, was that where they're dialing for paper essentially, like off market?
Yeah. So
Can you
they're
explain that to the layperson, like the audience that doesn't, we don't have enough real estate people on yet, consistently. So just think that our audience may not have that education, but they're more in the C-suite or operating principles of various equities, but not a lot of real estate as far as I know.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a lot of real estate people yet on the show.
So, I mean, wholesaling is pretty much you're dialing for dollars, meaning you're reaching out to property owners that don't have their property for sale on market. You're finding out if they have motivation to sell. And if they do, you're locking it out, locking the property up, getting it under contract with a purchase and sale agreement, and that for a discounted price, less than retail, what it would be, and then going and selling the rights to that contract to an investor or an end buyer, and then you're earning the difference in your contract price and the price that you sell it to that investor or end buyer. That's just pretty much called flipping paper. There's no risk in owning property, and it's usually like the starting ground for people getting into real estate.
Did you guys start in that?
No. We're
As
actually,
I recall, I think you got the 3 houses with OPM essentially, right?
yeah.
So what's the value? Where's the crossover? How does that?
So it's just really adding another parallel revenue generating business into our company. So right now we focus primarily on the BRRRR strategy: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, and fix and flips. Now, that being said, not every single deal qualifies for us to buy personally. So in the past 7 years, we've done probably 3 wholesale deals ever. It's just not something we really focused on, not something we really liked either, because it can be a sleazy business. It's there's not 100% transparency in the wholesaling business for a lot of people out there. But recently, we were like, hey, we're leaving tons and tons of money on the table. Let's start to, we've nailed this, we've mastered this, right? We didn't want to be a jack of many, a master at none. So we've now mastered this. We have systems and processes and teams in place to just, let's roll with this. Now let's take a little bit of time to start building this up. So eventually now we can grow that revenue, whether we're doing wholesales or novations, which is a different type of wholesale.
It's a little bit further in depth.
Very in depth. It's something new to the
We got time.
Yeah, it's something new to the market, and that's really what we want to focus on. Novation wholesaling
Is part of the value of the wholesale funnel that there's going to be a percentage of this paper that ends up being really amazing for you guys to actually acquire and then add value to and hold, or is that not?
So that's part of our BRRRR business, right? Where we're already going out there and we're finding deals that are under market value and we're buying them ourselves.
Okay.
But here on the wholesale side, more particularly for us, is the novation, which is novations is where we're finding pretty houses that can sell to a qualified buyer, a homeowner, where you can now wholesale to FHA, conventional, VA, USDA mortgage buyers, where with typical wholesaling, you cannot. So now we're talking, bigger checks, less, you're not dealing with, shitty houses. You're dealing with people that just don't want to deal with the realtor process, don't want to deal with showings, still want to sell their property as is, and a slight discount, not a major discount. Because when we're doing When we're doing wholesale deals, we're talking 40%, 50% discounts. Okay.
What is consumer behavior starting to change in that way where people just don't even want to do the showings and things?
I think a lot of people
Interesting thought, actually.
Yeah, I'll let you hit
Yeah.
on that.
No, I
Who the
think,
heck wants to do that, right? If you
I
don't
think
have to.
people are, and not that realtors charge a huge amount, but 6% or 5%, whatever you come down to on the seller side, that can total up on 400, 500 plus $1,000 houses. That's a good chunk out of what they could be
Yeah.
putting in their pocket. Like you said, showings, either making sure you're scheduling. People's schedules are way different these days. A lot of people work from home and can't just do showings randomly, or they just don't want people in their house. So we try and make it easy, and that's why we're trying to do the novation route as well. One, not leaving money on the table, because like Jake said, inbound leads that come in, not every one of them makes sense for us to purchase, negotiate rehab, or purchase, negotiate, refinance, put a tenant in there. Some of it just doesn't make sense. So how else can we help them? We can do this method. It's, hands-free for the seller. They don't have to do anything, worry about anything. We'll handle something. Gosh forbid something came up in an inspection. Like, it goes over all that stuff. So just expanding our ways of parallel in the business of real estate that we can also continue to do more for people.
When it comes to managing, like we talked on episode 151 about some of the product that you've been putting together with your organization. What are some of the no-nos that you've learned over time when it comes to managing the people, managing the property that, like, so let's say someone is listening to this, they want to get started, they want to get their hands dirty, what are some of the no-nos, the things you've learned over time, like when it comes to the management of the real estate? Because you guys do that yourself, correct?
Correct. Yes. We
And a
in-house.
lot of people don't, they try to put a third party or so on and so forth. So what are some, I guess, lessons from that, and then ways to go about doing it?
If they definitely want to go a property management route, vet them, screen them very, very well. But we've been through some property managers. It just didn't work for us at the time. But they take 1% off your rent every month. So that would need to be accumulated if you're not factoring those costs in properly. But for me, when I do it, like I said, after Jake's done with the refinance, turns back over for me, we'll do showings. So one, we love to see the people in person. That's going to tell you a lot about their personality, how they act, how they dress. Yes, you can dress to impress or come with your best impression, but a lot of times in some of these lower end areas, what we do, like I said, the Section 8 affordable housing program, people are going to show up how they normally live. A key tip, you can look in their car. Generally, when you're exiting the showing, if their car's nearby, if you can see inside their car, that's generally going to give you a little rule of how they live inside the house. They then have to do an application with us. Biggest things, not so much credit, but on the credit, making sure nothing's in collections. If there is something substantial, you can always ask them. No prior evictions, and then nothing serious of criminal. For some reason, like running a red light goes on your criminal record, which I think is crazy.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So I don't look at like traffic violations.
Well,
like,
that's a risk taker, man.
A lot of blown stop
Oh,
signs, blown
sorry.
That's a risk taker right there.
oh,
no seatbelt.
as long as it's not,
Entrepreneurial for us.
as long as it's nothing serious to themselves, the kids, or other neighbors in
Put
the
anybody in
area.
danger,
Yeah, put
potentially.
anybody in danger. So those are big things to look for. Again, with the affordable housing side, it's not so much about the income because they're already low income. That's the reason for the Section 8 support from the government. For people outside of Section 8, it has to be 3 times the income, verification letter, some type of referral from like a boss or employer. We generally do reach out to the employer to make sure they are working there. We've had a case before where we've called and they were no longer working there. So most recent pay stubs and 3 months, and then most recent. What else?
Sometimes bank statements as well.
What do you
Sometimes,
say to the people that say, "Hey, you got to be more lenient, people need housing"?
yeah, well,
That's
we,
scary. Like, I can hear some people listening.
so we
and
will
thinking
never
of,
fill a house just to get the payment mortgage paid. We will pay the mortgage payment until we find a good qualified we call them residents, a good qualified resident to be in there. I'd rather pay the payment than have them 2 months and then I have to redo the whole house again.
You know, I was talking to my mother 3 days ago, and she was telling me my uncle, big influence in my life. My uncle, my aunt, kind of like if you guys had a sibling and then that sibling adopted a little baby, that was me. My uncle, my aunt were big real estate people. And he's like in his 80s and he manages one of his buildings, is like almost 30 units, owned it forever. And she was telling me like that there's this guy that was, it just came up in the conversation, in the unit or in one of the units, like 3 years unpaid rent. And it was like a loophole, like it was there with a family member and then something happened and then like he couldn't get him out. And she was just, you know, like, my mom's not an entrepreneur in that way, so she doesn't really understand these things. She's like, can you believe something like that, right? You know, like how does that even happen? So
Right.
like, I don't know if you could speak to some of this in the sense that it isn't cheap. I'm sure he's lost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more than that,
Oh, yeah.
by essentially caring for this person, right? Covering all. So can you speak to that? Like, because it seems though that, you know, those late night infomercials, it seems really easy to do what you're doing. And based on all of my research on YouTube, you see what I'm saying? Like, right, we have people listening and say, oh, I could do that in my sleep. So, yeah, like, where's the question in what I just said? It's more, what's it like to be in a situation like that? Or, you know, is that a fear to be in those types of situations? You know, what do you do if you're in one of those types of situations? Have you guys ever been in something like that? I'm curious.
I'll have him speak a little bit too, but like a big no-no is, I know, trying to answer that one on top of this one. Don't overpromise anything. Don't say, oh, we're going to get you a new fridge and we're going to put up blinds and blah, blah, blah. I would just stick, what we do is we just stick to the lease. We try and keep it as maintenance free as possible. We don't supply blinds. We don't do washer and dryers. If it's
Curtain
not
rods,
lease,
none of that stuff.
we just try and keep it very, very simple. I fully care about the people I put in there. We will, if something happens, I generally have somebody there within 24 to 48 hours to figure out the cause or the problem. So we have our maintenance crew ready to go, but we're not going to be taken advantage of. And if they explain to me or give me proper notice, I'm having rough troubles, my car broke down, I need to take care of this. You still do have a responsibility to the lease, to the rental payment per lease. But if you give me a notice, I will give you a little bit of leniency. But the leniency will not last long because it's still a lease that you have to uphold. That's one thing we make known. It's a binding agreement. This isn't just paper floating in the air. It's binding. So as much as you can stick to that, just establish like firmness, but I'm there for you without having to cross that line. So we had to go through a couple of options only from inherited tenants. So none of the tenants that we screened or placed. We buy houses sometimes with pre-existing tenants, just because that's what we do. We give them notice that we're new owners. We give them notice of rent increase. If payment does not come in, then they get their notice of eviction. So we do file through with that. We've had it twice. We've had one that actually lasted the longest time. It's not fun, to be honest, but at the end of the day, you're in a binding agreement that says you need to pay rent.
Yeah, there's no such thing as free lunch. We all learned that in social studies when we were like 6 years old, or not even like freaking 8 or something.
Well, that brings up, you know, other curiosities, like how important is the state that one invests in, or the city, or like learning those types of things? It's like the philosophy changes in places, doesn't?
That's the biggest,
it's like
the biggest thing, whether you're red or blue. When it comes to real estate, get politics out of your head. You always want to be investing in Republican states, Republican areas, because they're the most landlord friendly, and it's for capitalism. When you invest in blue states, you're going to have, or blue cities, it's a tenant friendly area. So, hey, eviction comes along, well, good luck, because they're not on your side. It's going to take 9 months to get them out. Oh, and by the way, you're going to have to pay for storage as well. Oh, by the way, once
yeah.
eviction happens, if they can't find a house, you're going to have to pay for the hotel. And that's even if you get a court date. I mean, obviously your uncle knows 3 years.
Do you think that there's people, that get in the business and they figure this out the hard way?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Because I would say 80% of landlords become landlords by accident. They don't actually become landlords. Maybe it's not 80%, but majority of landlords become landlords by accident, meaning they inherited a house from a loved one, a family member, or they had they're having a life change. Their family is growing and they have to buy a new house. Well, they're like, hey, well, why don't we keep this one instead of sell it? Or they can't sell it. So they're like, hey, we need to cover the mortgage. We don't have enough money to cover 2 mortgages. So they just rent it out. They're not landlords. They don't know real estate. They just figure, hey, why not? Boom. Let's cover this mortgage.
I'm thinking they don't do well.
No.
Is that kind of bittersweet? Because then that's your opportunity, or people that really look at it like a craft?
Yeah, it is bittersweet, right? Because that's where we come in for a solution to their problem.
Would you say that, like, I just came to my mind, but like in theory, if it was going to be, if there's an asset that just like it could be a really big win. In theory, would you have to bake into the politics into the deal? Let's say it is in let's say a state that wasn't, it didn't vote, on red, as you said. You think you, in theory, bake that into the price that you'd have to pay, in the sense? I'm just like trying to play not devil's advocate, but like maybe just take that into account if you're going to go into an area. No, we just got to pay a hell of a lot less because we need to. I don't know, just something that came to my mind. Like, I
would just probably say, like, hey, just make it a fix and flip game in those areas where you're just buying, renovating, and flipping for a profit. That way you're not married to the property. You only own it for a short amount of time. You don't have to worry about those laws with tenants and whatnot. Or if you are in those areas, make sure you're getting into programs where it's guaranteed income, like Section 8, HUD, VA, any other programs out there that have subsidies, so that you're getting guaranteed income. So yeah, you don't have to worry about tenants not paying. It doesn't matter what the political climate is or the economical climate is when you're on those programs.
Despite the difficulty for maybe the average person listening to this, you guys have this down to a process, a plan, a formula, and you're committed to it. So what are some of the values of someone listening to this investing into real estate as an asset class, if it's not them doing it themselves, right? So basically, why is it a good asset class to have in someone's investment portfolio if they're not doing it themselves?
So like a hands-free investing, you're saying, correct?
Yeah, like, so, I have a tremendous amount in my retirement vehicles, and they're, John Bogle wrote books about indexing, and so, like, let's say I'm that person sitting and thinking about that, and like, I don't really know how I feel about what is a bond. I don't even know what a bond is. So let's say, but I don't want to operate a real estate house. I live in a place that you're telling me would be less advantageous to buy and hold, but I like you guys. And I think so. Like, what's the value in real estate investing if it's not you operating it? You're gonna partner with somebody like you guys.
So let's take traditional investments first. You have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, currencies, commodities, futures, all that stuff. I can guarantee you nobody knows an ounce of shit about, right? They have 401ks, they invest in HAP, hope and pray. They get their 401k, statement in the mail. They barely look at it for 2 seconds and they file it. They don't even know what they're investing in to begin with on a daily basis, right? But everybody knows real estate. You might not think you know real estate, but everybody's a real estate investor if you bought a home. Everybody is a lender in this country if they have a bank account. So why not invest in something that you're already doing, that you already understand, that you're already in the process of doing, right? And that's real estate and becoming a lender. Where with the 401k or anything that's on Wall Street, you have zero control over whatsoever. Something happens on Twitter, the stock market crashes. Something happens overseas, whether that's a natural disaster, political, or war, stock market crashes. We're not even valued on fundamentals anymore in the stock market because these companies are way overvalued. And usually for the last, since the Warren Buffett days and, the Peter Lynch days and everything like that, the market was valued on the fundamentals of companies. That's no longer the case whatsoever. It's whatever the market feels like. It's all based on psychology and emotion now. And that's a scary place where the stock market and your hard-earned assets, your future, your retirement is based on someone's emotion of what it's worth. And it can go down 20, 30, 40% overnight and you have no control. And by the way, if you try to sell, you're catching a falling knife. It's damn near impossible to sell into a falling knife. And you're going to take big losses. And then the fact is, hey, how long is it going to take you to break even? So if you lose 40% in your money market account, in your 401k, you're going to have to make 80% to break even again. How long is that going to take you to make 80%, break even, get back to where you were 10 years ago, and now start to make gains again, not including any other market discrepancies through that time? So now on the flip side of that, you take real estate, which is a hard asset. It's tangible, it's secure. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can see it, you can bang your head against it if you're having a bad day. Someone will always need a home. It's rock solid too. It's not a paper asset. Stocks are digital. They can all go to zero. And then you have nothing to back that whatsoever. Whereas at least with real estate, worst case scenario, the property does drop tremendously. You can always have someone in there as a resident, as a tenant, giving you passive income each and every single month. Oh, and by the way, for the real estate market to crash takes months or years. Look at the bull market we've been in the stock market. I mean, not the stock market, the real estate market.
Yeah.
Everybody says, oh, it's a bubble, oh, it's a bubble, oh, it's a bubble. Do you see that coming? And if it is coming, we're able to see that. We're able to predict a bubble in the real estate market. And it doesn't happen overnight either. It takes, once that knife starts falling in the real estate market, that takes about 6 months to 18 months to hit the bottom, maybe a little bit longer. So you always, in the real estate market, you have plenty time to exit. Whereas with the stock market, that shit happens overnight or in days, and you don't have time to exit, right? And then comes to the fact of, well, I don't want to really own real estate. So how can I get involved in real estate without owning it? Well, you don't want to invest in a REIT because that's still a stock no matter what. You're not owning real estate. So become a lender. And not everybody in this world is a lender already. They just don't know it. Because every single time someone goes to a bank and deposits $1 into their account, that $1 that they deposit into that bank account is now a liability to the bank. So what the bank does is then take that liability and make it into an income producing asset by then lending that dollar out to their community, whether that's a mortgage, a credit card, a home improvement loan, a car loan. Okay. They go and then pay that end user, whether it's the car dealership, whether it's the homeowner that they're buying from, whether it's the convenience store that you're using with a credit card. And that business then goes and deposits that money right back into the bank, all using your money, by the way. So what if you could cut out the middleman where they're earning 413% on every single dollar that you put into the bank? What if you could be that person? Because you already are, you're just doing it through a middleman. So what if you could become a private lender, become the bank on real estate properties, get passive income monthly, and have the control like the bank, be secure like the bank? Because at the end of the day, the banks are like casinos, they always win. the house always wins. They're the most protected as well. Go into a casino and start messing around with the cars, you're getting kicked out.
Leanna, what do you think?
I mean, he went all over, so I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about now? But he's right. With somebody being a lender to an asset as real estate, things that we do, it's safe. I mean, it's there. It's not going to go anywhere. Our strategy is we buy 40 to 50% below market value to help correct and be accumulative for all that, or oh crap, the market just dropped 30%. Well, that's okay because we're in it for 50, 40% below market. So we make sure we have those buffers.
Huge equity buffers.
Yeah, big equity buffers. But the person who wants real estate in their portfolio without having to do everything, it's hands-free. You sit back and you literally let the check come in the mailbox because we're handling everything, or whomever else is out there that person would like to partner or lend with. There's nothing to it. We will handle everything. You don't have to know how to swing a hammer, how to do tile. What if the tenants call because the toilet's clogged? Nobody has to worry about that. So if you're looking to, extra funds are sitting on the sideline, not working for you, they can start going to work in, companies like ours where they'll make a return monthly and you don't have to worry about anything. So that's just the biggest thing. It's just, that's where I would want to get to.
Yeah.
After we're done with our mission and goals, I would love to be the bank, because why not let my money keep turning? I've already done all the work I needed. How about my money and my dollars, go out and now they get to work for me. And I just sit back and get to collect that check.
It's the most consistent, predictable, and secure version of passive investing. It's the one most
it doesn't change.
hands-off.
It doesn't fluctuate because, oh my God, me and Jay got in a fight last night. Now the contractors can't show up. We can only pay, this much this month, but next month it'll be better. That doesn't fluctuate.
Yeah.
Wow.
The amount of return that's set
consistent.
from day one is
Yeah.
the amount of return that you get all the way throughout the project. And then your principal capital is returned plus any other interest upon sale or refinance.
And how quickly we're turning properties, it's about 3 to 4 times somebody can turn their money with us
in one
in
year.
1 year.
Yeah. So anybody that comes on board to our program, we're usually flipping their money between like 3 to 5 times a year. And just to put the icing on the cake is, since we're buying these assets at such a steep discount, like she said, anywhere between 30 and sometimes 60% off of the value. Go to your financial advisor, your stockbroker, and ask them if you could have a 40% discount on Apple stock today. They're going to tell you no way. It's not possible. It's not possible. So why not get involved with a company or even yourself with some that can buy assets at super steep discounts, because your profit's already in the deal right off the gate. Profits aren't made when you sell. Profits are made when you buy. So wouldn't you rather know your profit going into an investment right out the gate instead of buying a stock, trying to figure out what it could go up to? Because the downside risk right away, because that starts day one. Because you didn't buy at a discount when you bought Apple stock at XYZ price. You're only looking up the upside of what could be. You don't have the crystal ball. So really it's speculation. It's gambling. Speculation, not speculation. I don't even know what speculation.
Oh, I thought that was a new word and it made sense
Oh,
to me.
yeah. Look that up.
I thought that was cultural or something.
Fit right in.
But at least with real estate, what your profit is day one because it's built into the purchase. Because that's this huge discount of what you're getting. That's your profit. So why not get involved in something like that?
How important is the community or deal flow processes, systems in the opportunity that is, you're saying, the undervalued asset? Meaning, is it because you guys have the intellectual property and the time spent, the funnels essentially to get these deals at a discount? Is that part of the value?
Yeah.
How do you go about, right? Because if I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, how are they getting that, those opportunities in the first place? Is that just baked in your business development over
So
time?
the majority of people they think that they can just go to the open market and find deals. And that's, you know, Zillow, Craigslist, MLS, Trulia, Realtor, Redfin. Deals don't exist on those platforms. Deals are made off market. So our team is going direct to homeowners that have that motivation to sell for a discount because one of the following: they're in pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, it's in a probate, a divorce, a bankruptcy, tax liens, but you know,
They're out of state owners.
out of state owners, code
Wait, you
violations.
mean those don't do well?
Sometimes if you have an awesome A team. And then there's the other factor of if the property just needs too much work, or like today, right before this podcast, we're in a fire damage property that the whole second floor was torched. It was a burnt crouton. And it's been sitting vacant for 4 years. They've already been paid out. And you know that money's gone. That money's gone if they've done nothing to that property. So they don't have the money to fix it. So that's the opportunity we come in, you know, on these assets where not a homeowner won't buy it.
Yeah, lenders won't, like conventional
lending won't
FHA,
lend
they won't
on
lend
it. So we come in with private capital and our crews and redo the whole property. And that's where the value is.
How have you cultivated that culture with the crews?
It's really seeing the greater vision and the greater purpose. They're on side us, you know, with the mission to rebuild neighborhoods and communities. And you know, they learn from us a lot too as well, because they take a lot of interest in what we do, because they eventually want to build legacy wealth as well, for their families. So it's really cool for them to see and learn the whole process as they're doing it, and they're making money because they're, you know, doing the work. So I think that's, you know, the culture behind it.
How do we do this in this, you know, for those that are listening thinking, wait, but the rates are up, like, why is this still real estate time? Like, I thought, you know, people were dying out there. Like, what, how do you know, how are we getting through this? And how are you guys approaching it? Is there still opportunity is the big question.
It's always time for real estate, no matter what. So we factor in, like Jake said, on the buy side, we'll factor in where we think the interest rates are based on our previous refinances. So they're hovering what, around eights now. So we just go into it knowing it's an 8. We underwrite the deal with those numbers already pre-planned, and that's how we'll be able to get to our offer price. Or we look at our renovation cost. Okay, maybe could we save $5,000 or whatever that might be? I mean, we have not
less competitive.
I don't know.
It's still
competitive
competitive right now. Majority of people aren't doing deals right now. Not just because of rates, but more so of deal flow. There's not a lot of deals out there, so you really have to hunt hard and have an awesome community, and not even including just an awesome team, but an also awesome referral system. People out there, other wholesalers, realtors, referral people, attorneys, anything like that they know what you do, and then they refer you deals. So a lot of deals come through that route. But when it comes to rate, man, we marry the property and date the rate. Eventually rates will go back down and we'll refinance at a lower rate. That's not a problem.
Like a temporary thing.
Yeah, because we're going into deals where, you know, our investors are getting double digits returns, and then we're refinancing out with you know, direct lenders, 30-year fixed debt, and like she said, we're factoring in what the rates could be when come time refinance. So all that's factored into our cool spreadsheets that just spit out where we got to be on price on
These
purchases.
are just changes you have to make along the way. It's not a straight road by any means. Things change and roads turn. So you just have to be aware of that and not blindsided to it. Because if you think we thought we could do the same strategies in 2016, 17, 18 when we were first starting as we are in 21, 22, 23, we'd probably be sitting on the curb right now, but we're not. You adapt and you change, you get different strategies, you get different crews, you get different lenders, whatever that might be, and you play that route.
Do you guys work hard, do you think?
Yes.
Play hard too.
Yes.
In the right way. We don't party, but we travel a lot and learn a lot.
Where do you like to go?
Florida, where you are.
Yeah, that is. I have to show you. It's sunny out, I think.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have I guess, do you ever go international? Have you done that yet?
Yeah, we've gone to Mexico a few times. We actually just booked 9 days in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. So that's coming up.
I think we're planning Italy next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll do Italy next year.
And what's behind that? Is that a bucket list thing, or is that part of the business? Outside the write-off, or I don't want to get you in trouble with the IRS. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I mean, if there's an
businessmen.
event in Italy, we'll find it. Because
Hell
really,
yeah.
the only reason we travel is for event purposes, and then we stay an extra couple days to enjoy these towns.
Oh, really?
In there.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. It's very subtle. We just take a vacation to go relax. It's always learning or educating or meeting somebody or whatever that might be. So
The other day, Jenny goes to me, Jay, how long are we going to do this? And I go, well, I won't say my answer. Do you guys ever do that to each other? I'll tell you offline because I don't want the audience to know.
Somebody asked the other day, he was like, oh, when are you ever going to stop buying properties? And I'm like, man, until I hit like 1,000, and then I'll sit down and be like, and then I'll keep buying more.
Like, you ever look at each other and think like, we're crazy.
yeah.
Crazy's good. You have to be insane to be some type of sane.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Who said that the other day? Peterson on Dostoevsky. That was I highly recommend this interview. It was Larry Arnn and Jordan Peterson on the Larry Arnn show. And he said Dostoevsky, it would be helpful if I remember what he said. No, it was like his insanity was saner than sanity. Something like that. It's like, that's made me think.
Because if you really think about it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to know, like, what do you want the audience to take away from this conversation? That's like, if each of you, if you can, like, what do you think could speak to the audience?
Well, one thing that I would say, if there is another couple or partnership that's working together, is definitely define your roles. This way you can work better together in order to achieve the goals you put forth. So a little, is it called acronym or
Acronym?
I don't know.
Yeah, acronym.
So I like to go by APE. APE is Aligned Partners in Excellence. So that's how I see me and Jake. We're aligned not only in business, we're aligned in our work life, we're aligned in our spiritual life, we're aligned in our activities, workout, exercise life. We have the same alignments, partners in life and business. We do everything together. And then all in excellence to achieve something greater, whether it's greater for us or greater for the Section 8 community we're trying to help, giving them beautiful homes, not just ran down places, changing the slumlord mentality. So that's for us. So I like, if something was to give away, I would want people to know, just define your roles. There's no reason for arguments, just work things out. Communication is absolutely huge. That's what gets us through a lot. Constantly communicating. I mean, my desk is right there. His is here, mine's there. We are not far apart. We do everything together, but that's just, we really like it. We find it very, I think, healthy, and we grow faster doing that.
Yeah, and then I would definitely say investing with a purpose, investing with a mission. At the end of the day, if you're just chasing the dollar, that's not enough. If your why is $1, not just dollar, if it's $1 million, all right.
Yeah. There you go.
It's not enough. You have to have a purpose, a mission, a cause behind it, or it's just not going to work out for you. Ours is not only building awesome affordable housing and breaking that stigma on the government programs to where it's just filled with slumlords and shitty houses, barely livable houses, but it's also legacy wealth. I want to be able to be the person that had a breakthrough in my family, so the rest of my family and generations could have a breakout where they don't have to work as hard, they don't have to struggle, they get to enjoy what's on this world because I and Leanna made it possible to where they're able to see everything in the world that's beautiful that our creator made, that a lot of people will never ever experience. Experience the finer things in life, because that's not really that possible with the average mediocrity way of life, of just going through with a 9 to 5. You just can't, that you won't be able to see those things.